Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take, well, stacks of sources, guides for living better, and really try to distill them down into something useful, maybe even surprising. Today, we're diving into a really powerful text. It's actually over a century old now. William George Jordan's The Kingship of Self-Control. It calls itself a guide to individual problems and possibilities.
And it really is. It's quite something.
Our mission today really is to unpack its core idea that the most critical kingdom you'll ever rule. Well, it's the one inside your own head.
That's exactly it. Jordan doesn't hold back at all. He basically argues that your entire state of being, everything about your life, hinges on how well you govern yourself, or how poorly.
It puts a huge weight of responsibility on you, doesn't it?
It does. It's immense. But, it's also incredibly empowering. Jordan starts off by setting this really profound philosophical stage. He argues that fundamentally, man has two creators.
Two creators. Okay, explain that.
So the first creator is, let's say, the divine, providing the basic stuff, the body, the mind, the laws of nature, the raw material.
Right, the starting kit.
Exactly. But the second creator, and this is the crucial part, is man himself.
Ah, okay. So we're co-creators of our own lives.
In a very real sense, yes.
Yeah.
And Jordan says this second creator, this inner self, has these marvelous, really powerful abilities. But the tragedy is, most people almost never fully realize them.
They just stay dormant, untapped potential.
Precisely. And that failure, that gap between potential and reality, that's where you see the difference between a life that feels fulfilling and one that's just constant disappointment.
Right. And the source draws a sharp contrast here, doesn't it? Between the failing person's outlook and the successful one's.
It does, very clearly. The person who's failing, they often just throw up their hands, right? They say, well, I am as God made me, using the divine almost as an excuse.
Yeah, absolving themselves. It's not my fault.
Exactly. But the successful person, the one Jordan calls the self-made man, and he doesn't mean that in an arrogant way.
No, it's about ownership.
Right. They declare ownership over their own development. They see themselves not as finished, but as constantly evolving.
So it's like seeing yourself not as a fixed statue, but as clay you're still molding.
That's a great way to put it. Jordan insists we're put here not as a finality, not some perfectly finished product, but as a possibility, a magnificent possibility.
And until you grasp the sheer scope of that possibility, you're just sort of groping around.
Yeah, just stumbling through the years, never really using the power you already have inside, which leads us directly to the core image of the whole book, the king versus the slave.
That's such a powerful metaphor. It immediately puts you, the listener, in charge. You're either ruling or you're being ruled.
At any given moment, yes. You're a king when you're mastering those inner weaknesses. Passion, folly, bad habits, sin, whatever holds you back. When you rule those, you're king.
But it's not a one-time thing, is it? Like you get crowned and that's it.
No, definitely not. Jordan says it requires daily recreation. You have to keep pushing past yesterday's mistakes, constantly rebuilding.
And the alternative, the slave.
That's when you surrender. When you give in to a wrong appetite or a weakness, or you just feel crushed by your circumstances, by failure. You've basically handed over your crown. You've abdicated.
And the book uses a huge historical figure to illustrate this point, Alexander the Great.
Yeah, it's a striking example. We think of Alexander, conquering the known world, an incredible external achievement, one of the biggest battles.
But Jordan just cuts right through that, doesn't he?
He does. He says, sure, Alexander conquered the world, but he failed completely to conquer Alexander. He became a slave to his own passions, his temper.
Yeah.
He couldn't control himself.
So worldly power means nothing without inner power.
That's the hierarchy Jordan presents. Conquering nations is tough, no doubt, but conquering yourself, that's the hardest battle. And it's the only one where winning means true freedom and losing guarantees you stay a slave.
Okay, so if we accept that we need to move from being a slave to being a king, how do we actually do that? It sounds like it needs some huge, dramatic effort.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But Jordan insists it's the opposite. Attaining self-control isn't sudden or dramatic at all.
It's more gradual.
Exactly. He argues that all progress in the world is just a history of gaining new controls. Think about lightning for ages. It was terrifying, a tyranny.
Right. Something to be feared.
Then, through understanding and control, we harnessed it. Electricity became our servant. Self-control is just the ultimate form of that mastering the self. But, and this is key, it requires payment. You have to earn it.
Okay, payment. And this is where he brings in that brilliant idea, nature's installment plan. I really like this.
We do. It's so practical.
It makes self-control feel accessible, right? Like you don't need a huge pile of willpower cash up front. You can pay in small bits.
Precisely. Jordan argues that if self-control demanded one massive payment, it would be fundamentally unfair. What about the weak, the poor, those starting behind?
They couldn't afford it.
Exactly. But nature, he says, never accepts a lump sum. She only deals in installments, progressive payments. So no one is too poor or too weak or too busy to start paying.
And these payments are, what, like tiny efforts.
Tiny daily expenditures of energy, small acts of discipline, consistently applied, things nobody else might even notice.
Like exercising patience in a small irritation, or choosing the slightly harder option.
Yes, that mental energy, that moral effort you spend doing the right thing, even when it's small. Nature stores it. Jordan calls it a wondrous reserve fund. It gets transmuted into strength, ready for when you really need it in a crisis.
Ah, so it builds up over time, like compound interest for the soul.
That's a perfect analogy. And it also explains habits. Habits, good or bad, they develop slowly. But the really empowering part is you can decide right now, at any moment, to start building a good one or breaking a bad one. The first payment starts now.
Which brings this grand idea of kingship right down to earth, down to what Jordan calls moral gymnastics.
Yeah, treating the will like a muscle. A weak muscle that needs daily exercise.
And the exercises, he suggests, are so simple, almost mundane, but powerful, like stopping a really gripping book right at the climax.
Right. You're hooked, you want to know what happens, but you just stop. Because you chose to. That's a tiny win for your will.
Or the classic morning struggle getting out of bed the instant you wake up, resisting that urge for 5 more minutes.
That one little decision, repeated daily, builds serious mental muscle. It's fighting inertia.
And then there are choices involving slight discomfort just for discipline's sake, like walking instead of taking the easy option, the car.
It exercises both body and will. But maybe the toughest one, he suggests, is actively trying to be pleasant to someone you find really disagreeable.
Wow, yeah. That's not just controlling your own reaction. That's actively spending positive energy where it's difficult, building patience.
It requires immediate, conscious self-control. And Jordan insists these small daily exercises are what make the big stands possible. You can only refuse a huge temptation, like a bribe, if you've practiced refusing the small ones, like the snooze button.
Okay, so step 1. Recognize it's daily incremental discipline. Small acts. Step 2 must be figuring out where to apply that discipline. Where's the weakness?
Exactly. You have to study yourself honestly. Find the weak spot in your own armor. What keeps tripping you up? Is it selfishness? Vanity? A bad temper? Worry? Laziness? Lack of focus?
Find your personal kryptonite.
Pretty much. And once you identify it, the strategy becomes very focused.
You narrow your focus right down.
Jordan says,
Yeah.
live today as if it's the only day you have left, the only day to assert your best self, and the only day to conquer that specific weakness. Master it in every small instance, moment by moment.
That daily battle over your main flaw determines if you're king or slave.
That's the core of it, which sets us up perfectly to discuss the 2 biggest internal enemies. Jordan identifies the things that most often sabotage this kingship, starting with, well, what he calls the deadliest instrument of destruction.
Which is...
The human tongue.
Okay, that sounds extreme. The deadliest. More than weapons.
Yeah. Hyperbolic, definitely.
Yeah.
But he uses it to make a really profound point about psychological damage. He actually says the dynamite gun is the second deadliest. The tongue comes first.
Why? How does he justify that?
His argument is about the kind of destruction. A gun kills bodies, sure. But the tongue, it kills reputations. It ruins characters that took years, decades to build, and it spreads.
Yeah, a word can travel. Gossip spreads like wildfire.
Exactly. A gun usually acts alone.
Yeah.
But a malicious tongue often has accomplices, people who listen, people who repeat it, people who just stand by.
And the damage can be permanent, right? Hard to undo. Jordan talks about unkindness, anger, harsh criticism, gossip, slander. He calls them the crimes of respectability.
That's a key phrase, because these are things people do often without thinking, sometimes even respectable people. And he uses this striking analogy of the scales of justice.
Right. Explain that one.
Imagine 2 pans on a scale. In one, put all the suffering caused by thieves and murderers,
Yeah.
the crimes we all agree are terrible. In the other pan, put the total grief and pain caused by these crimes of respectability, the constant drip of malice, gossip, unkindness. Jordan says we'd be shocked. the pan with the thieves and murderers, it would fly up.
Meaning the sheer volume of suffering from casual verbal cruelty outweighs that from major crimes.
That's his argument. Most of us aren't victims of violent crime. But who escapes the careless or cruel word entirely? It's the constant pervasive nature of it.
And it's often insidious, isn't it? Not open warfare, more like poison.
Like parasites killing a tree from the inside. He says it's cowardly, too. It's easier to dodge an elephant, he says, than a microbe. Easier to defend against an open attack than subtle poisonous whispers.
Especially scandal. He says it actually warps the gossip's mind. The carrion fly analogy.
Yeah, the flies that ignore beautiful gardens to feast only on rotting meat. That's the gossip's focus. They ignore all the good in someone and zoom in on the potential flaw.
Everything gets twisted to the lowest motive. Generosity becomes manipulation. Virtue becomes hypocrisy.
And it's fueled, Jordan notes, by the sensational press teaching people this cheap trick of distortion. It becomes a habit of mind.
He uses Shakespeare's Iago as the archetype here.
Brilliantly. Iago didn't use one big lie. He used constant small drops of poison, innuendos, suggestions, half-truths, designed purely to breed suspicion and resentment. He got Othello to do the dirty work.
And Jordan sees modern Iagos doing the same thing. Constant little attacks against rivals or superiors.
Exactly, undermining them with whispers and malice. And we often excuse listening to it with that saying, where there's smoke, there must be fire.
But Jordan warns against that logic.
Strongly. He says sometimes the only fire is the fire of malice itself. The smoke is just envy and negativity projected onto someone else's life. That's why controlling the tongue is so vital. Words, once out, can't be taken back. The damage is done.
Okay, so that's the external destruction from the tongue. Then there's the internal destruction, worry. The second major enemy, he calls it the Great American Disease.
He really hammers this point. He calls worry the most popular form of suicide.
Wow. Suicide.
A slow mental poisoning. He claims it ruins health, digestion, appetite, sleep. It warps your character, makes you irritable, weakens your mind, even stimulates actual disease. He's convinced thousands die from worry, even if the death certificate says something else, like heart failure.
What are the signs? How do you know you're trapped in worry?
It's that constant, dull, numb pain, like one single fear overshadowing everything, or dreaming about your daily tasks, rehashing them endlessly, or just that inner voice of nagging memory being so loud you can't focus on the present.
And he insists this isn't just unpleasant, it's actively destructive. You have to kill the worry.
Yes, but first you have to understand what it is, and crucially what it isn't. He distinguishes it sharply from anxiety.
Okay, what's the difference? Anxiety versus worry?
It's a key distinction. Worry, he says, is just forethought gone to seed. It's unproductive churning. Anxiety, on the other hand, can be useful. It's a calm, serious look at real problems, and it suggests solutions, possibilities. Anxiety prepares. Worry paralyzes.
So anxiety is like, okay, this might happen, let's make a plan. Worry is just, oh, no, no, no.
Exactly. Worry isn't one big concern. It's like a swarm of tiny, vague fears buzzing around, demanding attention, but offering no way forward. It's a huge waste of mental energy.
A traitor in your own mind, stealing energy needed for actual tasks.
That's how he sees it. It taps into your strength and just dissipates it. And because we have real duties to ourselves, family, society, Jordan argues that wasting energy on worry is actually morally wrong.
So how do you stop it? How do you cure this disease? It starts with truly getting how useless it is, right?
Absolutely. You have to internalize that, make it a living fact, not just a nice idea. He uses that mathematical analogy.
The column of figures.
Right. If you have a list of numbers, no amount of stressing or agonizing will change the final sum. It's fixed by the numbers themselves.
You can only change the total by changing the individual figures, by taking action.
Precisely. Action, not just thinking about it endlessly, which leads to his two big logical reasons why worry is always the wrong response. It covers all bases.
Okay, reason one.
Because you cannot prevent the bad thing from happening. If the ship is truly sinking, if the diagnosis is final, you need all your mental energy, 100%, to face it bravely, salvage what you can, and plan your next move. Worry just weakens you when you need strength most.
Makes sense. And reason two.
Because you can prevent it. If you still have the power to act, to change the outcome, then you need all your energy focused on that action, devising the solution. Worry paralyzes you, stops you from doing what needs to be done.
So either way, whether you can change it or not, worry is counterproductive, harmful even.
Completely useless and actively damaging. A profound failure of self-control.
Seeing worry as a moral failure, not just a feeling, that's a powerful reframing. Okay, let's shift gears slightly, moving towards higher levels of self-mastery. Jordan has some interesting, maybe even critical things to say about duty.
He does. He's quite suspicious of duty when it stands alone. Capitalized like that. He calls it the cold, bare anatomy of righteousness.
The skeleton, but not the living flesh.
Exactly. Duty sees life as a debt you have to pay, grudgingly. Love, in contrast, sees life as a debt you get to collect joyfully. Duty is forced, mechanical, like following rules on moral rails. It might be necessary, but it's not the highest state.
And he challenges some famous examples of duty, right? Stories often held up as heroic sacrifice, like the boy on the burning deck.
Yes, Casabianca. We praise his faithfulness, but Jordan calls it suicide on a technicality. He argues the boy was acting like a machine, following an order that the fire had clearly made obsolete. He wasn't taking personal responsibility for his own survival.
That feels a bit harsh, maybe. Isn't following orders sometimes essential?
Jordan isn't against discipline itself, but against unthinking discipline. Take the captain going down with the ship. Sometimes Jordan argues that's not noble duty, but maybe fear of facing an inquiry or just forgetting the family waiting for him ashore. An unnecessary sacrifice.
Even the Roman soldier found at his post in Pompeii.
He sees that as almost morbid faithfulness. Nature itself, the volcano, had released the soldier from his duty. Staying there was just blind obedience, something an automaton would do.
So, for an act to be truly heroic, it needs more than just duty.
It needs duty plus love. That's the key. His counterexample is Grace Darling.
The lighthouse keeper's daughter who rescued sailors.
Right. She risked her life, yes, but not just from a cold sense of obligation. It was driven by love for humanity, pity, sympathy. That's what made it heroic. Love is the soul. Duty is just the body.
And when you add love, everything changes. Duties become privileges. Responsibilities become joys.
That's the transformation. If you want to be honest, don't just rely on duty telling you not to lie. You need to cultivate a love for the truth. Develop a genuine horror of lying so it feels unnatural. He points out that Christianity essentially bundles all duties into that one word, love.
Which brings us neatly to what Jordan calls the supreme charity of the world. And it's not giving money.
No. It's suspended judgment. True charity, he says, is this instinctive reaching for justice, being gentle with human flaws, and above all, obeying that command. Judge, not.
He's pretty critical of people who claim they love studying character.
He says they usually confuse watching characteristic surface traits with understanding deep, complex, changing character. It's like being a proofreader looking for typos in a masterpiece.
You only see the flaws, the little mistakes. You miss the big picture, the beauty. You only see the depths, not the heights people can reach.
Exactly. You lack perspective. And he's incredibly direct about what's required to actually judge someone fairly.
What is it?
Omniscience. Nothing less.
Knowing everything.
Everything. Their motives, their history, their hidden pains, their secret struggles. Unless you have that, judging is just cruelty. He says careless words of judgment are like messages in bottles thrown into the sea.
You don't know where they'll end up or who they'll hurt.
Right. Years later, miles away, they can wash up and wreck a reputation someone spent decades building. A sarcastic smile, a well-timed silence, a quick dismissal. It can destroy things.
And we do it even to friends, don't we? Condemn them based on appearances or rumors without a fair hearing. We wouldn't treat a criminal that way.
We wouldn't. We forget the hidden tragedies people carry behind a smile or a reserved manner. So Jordan champions the agnostic stance here. Meaning saying, I don't know, I need more evidence, I have to hear both sides. Until then, I suspend judgment. That conscious choice to wait, to not jump to conclusions that he says is the highest form of charity. It takes immense self-control to resist the urge to judge.
Okay, let's connect this to just everyday living, specifically that common feeling of wanting to live life over again.
Ah, yes, the universal regret. If only I knew then what I know now. We look back at wasted time, but Jordan's point is the new life, the chance to start fresh, it's right here today.
Like those sailors dying of thirst who didn't realize they were in a freshwater bay.
Exactly. Every sunrise is a new beginning, a chance to apply past lessons.
So regret isn't just negative. Jordan says the life without regret is a life without gain.
Right. Regret is useful only if it illuminates the future. It has to become wisdom, a guide for what's next. If it just stays as pain about the past, it's wasted.
It should spur new responsibility, new action. Forget the mistake itself. Keep the lesson.
Precisely. Don't waste more time regretting wasted time.
What about situations where you genuinely wronged someone, but you can't make direct amends? Maybe they're gone.
Jordan has a beautiful idea for that. Make the world your beneficiary. Your restitution shouldn't just be internal guilt. It needs to be expressed outwards through extra kindness, sympathy, and love shown to everyone you need. Pay your debt to humanity.
Focus forward, not back. Less about ancestors, more about posterity. Less about past virtue, more about future action.
That's the essence, which simplifies life down to the present day. Start each morning fresh, with clear goals for that day.
Live each hour as if it's all the time you have.
As if it's all time and eternity. Yes. That focus kills off morbid regret about the past and morbid worry about the future. People want guarantees, giant stockpiles of certainty. But life gives us strength daily, like manna in the desert, just enough for now.
That leads into another specific social behavior. He criticizes something he calls syndicating our sorrows. This feels very relevant today.
Oh, incredibly relevant. He's talking about the person who thinks they're being unselfish by sharing every single problem, every worry, every minor misery with everyone around them.
Making everyone else a shareholder in their personal unhappiness.
Exactly. Forming a syndicate for their sorrow. Jordan's advice. Stop forming a syndicate. Organize a trust and keep control of it yourself.
Meaning, bear your own burdens. Accept the solitary nature of deep experience.
Yes. Our biggest joys, our deepest pains, they ultimately come to us alone. We live alone, die alone, face our core struggles alone. Like Gethsemane, he says, sharing every misery is just spreading negativity, playing the coward.
He really slams the autobiographical monologue, doesn't he? The person who endlessly dissects their own miseries for anyone who'll listen.
Yeah, putting their life under a microscope and lecturing on the enlarged view, boasting about insomnia, detailing every ache and pain. It's selfish broadcasting, not conversation.
And it applies physically, too, like the grumpy boss whose bad digestion sours the whole office.
He's syndicating his dyspepsia. Jordan says if illness makes you irritable, you need to quarantine yourself emotionally. Keep the bad mood north of the neck.
Don't inflict it on others. Force yourself to be calm, even if you feel awful inside.
Control the outward expression. Even with deep grief after losing someone, nature pushes us to heal eventually. We might feel guilty, disloyal for starting to feel better, but we have a responsibility not to permanently radiate gloom.
Don't pass the cup of sorrow around.
Drink it yourself, bravely, like Socrates with his hemlock. And definitely, if you've bought into pessimism, cynicism, don't syndicate that. Don't tear down someone else's hope or faith just because yours is gone. Control your internal poison.
This whole demanding system, controlling the tongue, killing worry, managing sorrow, moving beyond mere duty, it all builds towards the final, really optimistic idea in the book, the revelation of reserve power.
Yes. This is the payoff for becoming the king. Jordan insists every single person is packed with unknown, unrealized potential, like an iceberg 9/10 hidden.
He even says that prayer, oh, wad some power the gifty gie us to see ourselves as others see us, is weak.
He does. He says we shouldn't pray to see ourselves as others see us, but as we truly are. Because if we saw our full latent power all at once, it would overwhelm us. Like Moses facing the burning bush.
We're not just fixed machines, we're like instruments with infinite unplayed music inside. And this reserve power is how nature handles new challenges.
It's nature's emergency fund. She's economical, gives just what's needed. But when a new need arises, boom, reserve power kicks in. Look at those cave animals losing sight but gaining smell and touch.
Adapting, or the Arctic animals turning white.
Camouflages their reserve. And that story about the Australian rabbits is amazing.
Facing extinction from fences.
And they literally developed a new nail. A longer, stronger one to climb and burrow better. Because they struggled, because they didn't give up, nature unlocked a latent physical potential.
It's in plants, too. The simple wild rose becoming the complex cabbage rose through cultivation. The banana from a lily, the peach from a bitter almond.
Humans are built with reserves. Organs in pairs, eyes, lungs. If one fails, the other steps up, stimulated by reserve power. Even single organs have internal divisions, and we see it in moments of crisis, sudden superhuman strength. That capacity was always there.
And crucially, this isn't just physical, it's mental and moral, too.
Absolutely. Someone can fail repeatedly, then find stunning success in an area they never even knew they had talent for. The law of reserve power guarantees that if you consistently do your best, always pushing a little more, new strength will be revealed. You never know your ultimate limit.
So all those small victories from the moral gymnastics, controlling anger, resisting temptation, they aren't wasted.
Not at all. Nature stores that energy. It becomes part of your reserve power, ready for when you face a bigger test.
It's a gradual revealing, like climbing that spiral staircase in the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That's his final image. You start climbing, you only see one step ahead, you can't see the top. But as you take that step, the next one appears. Take that one, the next appears. All the way up. Reserve power reveals itself step by step, meeting each new need as it arises.
So this whole journey, from the tough daily discipline to realizing this vast inner potential, that's Jordan's roadmap to becoming that self-made king or queen.
It really is. We saw how true self-mastery means going beyond just duty into love. How real charity is about controlling our judgments, suspending them. How power comes from killing useless worry and focusing energy on action.
It's about recognizing we have this incredible untapped strength inside us if we just trust the process and take the next step.
Which leads to the final thought for you, the listener. If reserve power truly reveals itself to meet each new need, each step taken, what specific hidden strengths might you be keeping locked away right now simply by hesitating, by refusing to take that next visible step on your own spiral stairway?
That choice right now, Jordan would say, is everything. It determines whether you wear the crown, a powerful idea to reflect on. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.